tragedy when we take time once again to reflect on what community is all about, on what makes our hilltop city such a strong community, and how we will not continue to stand with domestic terrorist attacks upon Americans and upon members of communities. 1 year ago, our nation stepped forward, coming closer to delivering on the promise adopted in Philadelphia on July 4th, 1776, with the Supreme Court ruling on marriage equality. The road towards crafting a nation built upon the foundation of universal human rights has been one stained with growing pains. Yet, through our suffering, we continue to be strengthened in our commitment, our dedication, our understanding, and our resolve. We stand by the meaning of the words the founders crafted and refuse to let them be echoes of history. Instead, pledging as a united people that as we progress in our understanding of ourselves, our neighbors, and embrace our differences, we will become closer to the fundamental dream of America. We mourn again as a nation the senseless, cowardly act on human life. We understand that while we are committed to celebrating the rainbow of diversity, that there are those who are equally committed to extinguishing its light. Embracing the understanding and celebrating differences are the fabric of what makes us human. Understanding how we are all linked together, how what happens to my neighbor happens to me, is the doctrine which has been preached over millennia among different faiths, among different faces, and different understandings of God. Yet, despite the differences in theological practices and writings, we are all linked and bound by the concept of our brother and sisterhood. It is this concept that we must continue in our individual and societal growth. Commit to teach, commit to practice, and commit to defend. Like all minorities within our nation, the road to equality for the LGBTQ community continues to evolve. That road has been marked with violence towards its members, legislative bodies denying them of their constitutional claims, members of the clergy who have sworn to deliver God's message of love, instead perpetuating hate and misunderstanding. The advancement down the road towards ensuring life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all continues to be blocked by false patriots who are no more defenders of liberty and inalienable rights than those who have breathed tyranny's breath through human history. We now live in a time when the enemies of freedom cloak themselves of the cloth of denying human dignity, denying the American dream, denying the constitutional rights. From the pulpit of God, they clearly do not understand, or from the halls of legislative bodies in which they are breaking the oath they swore to uphold. The terrorist attacks on the LGBTQ community in Orlando was an attack of violence committed against every American and human who subscribes to the universal principles of love, tolerance, understanding, and justice. To end the violence, pain, suffering, and acts of murder being committed against our own citizens, we must first admit to where we are today in the United States of America. We must be honest as citizens whose roots are embedded in democratic values, that one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all, has yet to complete its journey towards reaching and fulfilling its ideology. That for members of the LGBTQ community, the fear of violence, intolerance, and legal discrimination is a reality in the nation they love, embrace, and pledge daily to defend. That in 2016, citizens of this great nation awaken each morning, awaiting the promise of America to be delivered. Yet, despite the hate, despite the injustice, despite the intolerance, each morning members of the LGBT community recommit themselves to their careers, to their cities, to their towns, to their state, and to their nation. That in the face of hate, they practice hope. That in the face of suffering, they embrace love and continue to believe. The victims of Orlando were cousins, uncles, sons, aunts, daughters, brothers, sisters, husbands, and wives. They were fellow Americans, celebrating life with each other and displaying their pride with themselves and members of their community during Pride Month throughout our nation. As members of the LGBT community and as an American, this attack has once again reiterated the truth that we live in a world where individuals are equally committed to acts of violence as those as love. The world is littered with people who wish death and destruction, not only upon our nation, but upon every free-thinking person. It is during these times that we must not only honor, remember, and celebrate the lives of those lost, but pledge as individuals to break the cycle of hatred. The fight against terrorism begins around our kitchen tables. It fosters itself within our schools, within our neighborhoods, within coffee shops and churches. It begins with each one of us standing up against acts of intolerance and discrimination before they germinate themselves into acts of violence. It begins with eradicating the rhetoric, action, or legislation that is mirrored in the intent to divide and slow our progress as reaching our goals outlined in the Declaration of Independence. To identify as an American and to embrace our true values of who we as a nation are is more than displaying a flag or singing the national anthem. It is practicing and bringing to life the words which has built our nation as the defenders of liberty. The fight against terrorism begins with each and every one of us accepting each other, celebrating each other, and defending each other. As an American, I mourn the loss of my fellow citizens. As a member of the LGBT community, I will continue to honor each of their lives by dedicating mine to perpetuating social justice. Like members of my community, I believe in this nation, and I believe in its dream. I believe in the principles and the doctrines it adopted on that stifling day in Philadelphia in 1776. We, all of us here, all of us in Somersworth, all of us in New Hampshire and throughout the nation, will continue to embrace and celebrate our differences and continue the journey towards liberty, freedom, and human dignity. Let us honor those who lost their lives by battling terrorism in the strongest way we can. Let us as individuals and as a nation embrace, celebrate, and honor one another. Thank you.